Welcome back to the RotoExperts in the Morning on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, always simulcasting live on the Fantasy Sports Network. And I am Scott Engel. I am the king. I am fantasy, and everybody who listens to this show knows what my favorite soundtrack is and who my favorite band is and who my favorite artist is. In fact, he's always crept into my life in many different ways. The name of my fantasy football team is Trouble Running. The name of my fantasy NASCAR team is the Fractured Mirrors. And when I was looking at the projected standings for the American League West the other day, I realized that the A's were predicted to finish in last, which puts them a little below the Angels, like the 2009 album Anomaly from Ace Frehley, song A Little Below the Angels, a song that includes his daughter Monique. And welcome back to the RotoExperts in the Morning with a new album coming out, Ace Frehley. Ace, how are you? It's great to see you.
I'm great. It's so great to be here and see you again. Thank you.
Well, so it's great to look forward to a new album coming out from you on April 15th. It's called Origins Volume 1 on E1 Records. And this is like a labor of love for you because, you do not only regroove Kiss classics, but you're also doing songs from your favorite bands. Everybody who's been a Kiss fan knows that you really have a gift for taking a cover, and you're covering the Stones, Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, and the Kinks here.
Well, it's all about bands that influence me and influence my guitar players who influence my guitar style. Hendrix, Clapton, Pete Townshend, Led Zeppelin, the Kinks, the Stones, you name it.
So this is a real labor of love for you, and
yes, it was
not only in the music, but you also pay tribute in the art. Talk about the cover art. You have the classic New York skyline on the cover.
With the Twin Towers.
Yes.
Well, I've been a New York guy my whole life, so I remember that. In fact, I even did a photo session on top of the Twin Towers with Kiss.
Yeah, I remember that, and it turned into a legendary
poster. I don't know
poster.
whatever happened to those pictures. Maybe it didn't turn out so good, but, I remember doing a photo session up there. And I remember that restaurant, Windows of the World. You probably eaten there, right?
No, I've never eaten there. I'm a White Castle kind of guy, yeah.
Well, I'm a White Castle guy, too, after a long night of drinking. But, those days are in the past, too.
Yeah, I spent too much money on Kiss merchandise growing up. I didn't have any money for eating at Windows on the World.
Okay.
Gene's got a lot of my money. But, talk more about your Bronx roots. In April of 2009, you got something to do as a treat. You got to... They opened up the Hard Rock Cafe at the new Yankee Stadium, and you got to play New York Groove with Anthrax backing you up and your buddy Anton Fig on the drums.
That was great. It was it was a treat to be in the new Yankee Stadium. It still wasn't even finished, the day we did that, but it was here I am, a kid from the Bronx who used to go to games when I was, less than a teenager, and here I am opening up, part of the new Yankee Stadium. So, it was a great day for me and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And a lot of pride, because I'm a Bronx guy.
Yeah, you're Bronx. I got to be a Yankee fan. It's like I grew up in Flushing, so I got to be a Met fan, so I understand where you're coming from. It's funny how life works because, I remember a lot of my listeners are Kiss fans, and they all know I'm a Kiss fan. I waited online at a Kiss convention in 1992 to meet you for 5 seconds, and now here we are doing an interview. So it's funny how life works like that.
Man, I used to roadie for Jimi Hendrix,
Yeah, tell us about that story. It's the way you roadie for Jimi Hendrix.
It was 1970. It was the Randall's Island Peace Concert. And I snuck backstage, and after about 10 minutes, the people in the crew were going, "Who is this guy? Can I curse?"
They'll bleep it out, but yeah.
Oh. Well, I just did open anthem. I don't know. But they said, "Who is this guy?" And I said, "Well, I'm not in any of the bands." They said, "Well, can you do anything?" Because back then, it was like. Nobody had laminates. Nobody had stick-on passes. It was like, so they said, can you do guitars? Can you do drums? Can you, set up amplifiers? I said, sure, I can do any of that stuff. So they put me to work on the road crew. Next thing you know, I'm setting up Mitch Mitchell's drums for the Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Yeah, that's a wonderful story. Also, it's in your book,
crazy.
No Regrets. But back to your Bronx root and the Yankees. Yankees. I know you still go to a lot of Yankee games. Do you have a favorite Yankee or a favorite Yankee memory?
Maybe the time I was at the stadium with my friend Buddy and we got into a fist fight with some Boston fans.
I take it like you're a classic Yankee fan, and you don't like the Red Sox.
We had been drinking,
then.
we had done a lot of beers and hot dogs.
What do you think of the new ballpark?
I think it's really nice, especially when I'm there and they put my picture up there on the big screen every now and then. That's a big treat.
Well, that leads me to saying, like, New York Groove. We open our show with New York Groove just about every day of the week, and people say to us, what? Who don't even know Kiss? They'll say, "What's that funky tune?" And I'll tell them, well, that's Ace Frehley's New York Groove. You got to check it out. And it's become part of the fabric here in New York as a sports town. When the Mets win a game, they play it. The Yankees play it, and the Giants play it. What does that mean to you as a New York sports fan?
It's, believe it or not, when that song was presented to me when I was doing my first solo album in 1978, I wasn't crazy about the song. I didn't think it was heavy enough.
Right.
Because you know my guitar style.
Yeah.
But, Eddie Kramer, my producer, talked me into doing it. And, my version came out really good. And I don't regret anything about that song. It was actually my biggest charting hit. So, and the fact that I'm from New York and it's everybody's kind of picked up on that song.
It's even in commercials now.
It's I still get checks. It's a beautiful thing.
What's it like for you to be sitting at a game and your song comes on?
It feels great. It really feels great. I actually performed it a few years back at
the Rangers.
No, at Madison Square Garden. At the Rangers game.
Yeah, the Ranger game in 2011. Yeah,
that was great.
So that was really cool for you because you had a white guitar with a New York Rangers logo on it.
This guy knows everything about it.
One thing that I'm looking forward to, and I know a lot of Kiss fans who are going to be hearing this interview and watching it, you get back together with Paul Stanley for the first time in 18 years on the cover of Freeze, Fire, and Water. Tell us how that came together and, how cool it is to be working with Paul again in that way.
It was a great experience. I mean, unfortunately, I was so busy and Paul was so busy at the time, we didn't actually get into the same room together, but we went back and forth on the phone, more than a dozen times, tweaking the song. I gave him co-production credit on it. He did an amazing vocal on that. And while he was doing the vocal, I was mixing other songs and doing overdubs at the same time, and he was really nice enough to, take the time out of his busy schedule and do a fabulous vocal, and we got it. I threw the guitar solo on, I had my bass player, Chris Wise, put a bass track on, and, the end result was just magic, I think. And I can't wait for the fans to hear it because here I am chomping at the bit. The album's been done since January, but nobody's heard it. So
it'll be out April 15th, Argent's Volume 1. And you've really given the Kiss fans what they've wanted over the last few decades and the last few years. You reunited with the band in the 90s. People can put that on their bucket list. But you've been real busy and in a good place. You've done 3 solo albums since 2009. You're touring nonstop. Like after Trouble Walking in 1989 for 2 decades, we heard, when we get another Ace album? When we get another Ace album? And now you're busy as heck since 2009.
Yeah. I mean, the last 12 months, I've been to New Zealand, Australia, Europe, touring the U.S. extensively. Recorded a record. I mean, it's just been crazy, busy. It's good to be busy. I'm digging it.
And you're in a really good place. Like, over the last decade or so, you're engaged to Rachel Gordon. Doing really well personally, which is really great to see. Because when I was growing up, I went through a lot of hard times myself, and you helped me get through it.
I do a lot of autograph signings. Fans come up to me once in a while and they go, Ace, I've been sober now a year and I got sober because of you. I'm celebrating 10 years in September and, that just makes my day.
Yeah, and you pretty much get to do things on your own terms now, how you want when you record and tour.
I'm kind of spoiled, because working with Paul and Gene, those guys are control freaks. God bless them, but they are. So, a lot of times, we didn't always see eye to eye. That's one of the reasons, I left the band. But I'm kind of spoiled now because I'm running the show. I'm producing the records. I'm writing the songs. So, if anything did come down anything did happen in the future down the road, it would be, oh, man, I gotta make concessions now.
So that leads me to this.
But, for $10 million, why not?
Oh, yeah, sure. So that leads me to this question, which I think a lot of Kiss fans want to hear the answer. I mean, we've already seen the reunion, and we can put that on our bucket list, but do you think there might ever be like a final Kiss show that features the original band? Maybe just like a one-off with you, Pete, Gene and Paul?
We haven't discussed it, but, I'm always one of those guys that say never say never. I always leave the door open. I try to remain friends and keep everything cool. And, if I get the call, that'd be wonderful. If I don't, I'm doing fine. Either way, I'm a happy guy.
Well, that's good. And 2 years ago, you got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. This interview is actually one between two Hall of Famers. I'm in the Fantasy Sports Writers Hall of Fame, and you're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I know it was an honor in my line of work. What did it mean to you to be enshrined with so many people that you admired?
It was a great honor. And, even though we didn't perform that night, which was something that all the fans wanted it to happen, but Paul and Gene declined to play with me and Peter, for what reason, I'm not sure. But I wasn't going to let that spoil my evening because, I just had a great evening and was positive about everything, made a funny speech, and did a ton of press after we got our awards. Went backstage. I did about 10 TV shows and another 5 or 6 interviews. So, it was a great night for me. I remember it for the rest of my life.
Now, if people go to acefrehley.com, they can see your tour dates. You're going to hit the Southeast. You'll be back here in New York. In April, you'll be at BB King's April 11th and 12th. And they can also get a VIP experience where they can meet you, get some cool swag, and get some autographs.
Why not? I don't bite.
So, No Regrets was your book out in 2012, and I thought it was real interesting, especially reading the parts about you growing up. And, I think it's a really good read for people that even if they aren't a music fan, because you live quite a life. Your song Insane says, I live 5 days to your one, and it's true. The book kind of highlights that, right?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of stories that are still untold. I'm working on the second book right now, so, I just scratched the surface on stories from the Bronx, and, there's a ton of more stories, road stories from Kiss, road stories from Frehley's Comet, and subsequently after that. So, I could probably write 5 books, so I'm putting together stuff for the second book. I don't know when it's going to come out, but, something to look forward to.
All right, just before we let you go, Ace, what's next for Ace Frehley?
Well, I hit the road April 1st in Florida. We got 3 shows in Florida. Then we're working our way back up to do 2 nights at BB's up here in Port Chester, Long Island. And then I think I'm going to go to the Bahamas for a couple of weeks and kick back. And then we probably got some dates coming up in the summer. Got some offers for South America, Japan, Europe. We'll see what happens.
Are you going to make it back here in any time for any Yankee games? You looking forward to the new season?
I'm going to try. I'm going to try, Sometimes I just fly in and put on a disguise and sneak in. Nobody even knows I'm there.
That's the way to enjoy a game. All right. Yeah. Ace Frehley, the legendary original guitarist of the Kiss, a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member. His new album, Origins, Volume 1, again out April 15th on E1 Records. Check out the tour dates at acefrehley.com. Ace, thanks a lot for spending time with us today.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.